Hello, public school education. This is Miss Rachel, founder and CEO of Fayette Christian Academy, a private school, and we need to talk. Hello, and welcome back to Public School versus Private School. The gloves are off. Well, today we are going to be discussing that very important topic of measuring academic performance. This is something that concerns all parents, all educators, all community leaders. This is a very, very important issue because this lets us know what the children are learning, if they are learning, how they're progressing in their academic journey. So measuring academic performance is very important. Now, public school versus private school. So we're going to talk about public school first.
Fayette Christian Academy's enrollment is open. Enroll your child now to experience individual learning paces, small student to teacher ratio, and no state testing. We are accepting children ages 2 to 6th grade. To enroll, please visit www.fayettechristianacademy.ms. At Fayette Christian Academy, we are not here to be average. We are here to be awesome. So come and join us.
So public school measures academic performance in a combination of ways. That combination includes standardized assessments, classroom performance, and other indicators such as attendance, classroom engagement, standardized assessments. We have classroom grades, projects, quizzes, 9 weeks exams, things like that. Teacher assessments, which includes observations and sometimes some informal assessments, especially if a teacher recognizes that a student has test anxiety. An informal assessment it can be very, very effective for those students on the road to helping them overcome test anxiety, because we know that as they progress, oral tests will not always be an option. So, especially in those early years, those early elementary years, if test anxiety is noticed by the teacher can just simply, okay, so if 3 times 7 is 21, let's see, what do you think 7 times 3 is? And just working with the student in just something just as simple as that, or a game, or do you recognize this letter? What's this letter? Or what sound does this letter make? Or what's that number? Can you show me this number on your paper? Informal assessments. And of course, as the child is in higher grade levels, that would not be the assessment. That was purely an example. Another thing that public schools use to measure academic performance are benchmarks and diagnostic tests. And these are also very important because it lets the teachers, the principals, the administrators, it lets them know where the child begins, where they grow, where they don't grow, where they decline. It shows the progression throughout the academic journey. Okay, so they also use a student growth metric, and this is what shows that academic performance over time. And we always want that to show academic growth over time. And so it is not a straight line. It's not a line with high peaks and valleys. It is a steady progression going uphill. Now, sometimes it will, plateau, but you always look for that steady incline throughout the academic journey. Now, with private school, of course, things are different. Private schools do not necessarily have standardized tests. Now, some private schools still administer the Iowa test, even the California Achievement Test, because they're not really mandated. But private schools, trust me, we also want to keep up with how our students are performing. So Just as in public school, we have beginning of the year assessments, middle of the year assessments, and end of the year assessments. And these are ways we keep up and measure academic performance in a private school. We also have teacher-based assessments, and that includes your quizzes, your classroom participation. This includes your projects, your tests, your 9-week tests, and things like that. Now, regardless if it's private school or public school, there are some things that are just the same across the board. And one of those things is attendance. Attendance. Attendance is so very important when we're discussing academic performance. Because if the child is not attending school, they are missing critical lessons, critical objectives that are being taught, critical skills that are being taught. And if we think about education as building, and that's exactly what it is. The early years, pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, those are foundational years. That is when the foundation is being poured. The form has been made. The rebar, I think rebar has been set. They are about to pour the concrete. They are about to pour the cement to make sure that that foundation is solid. Now, if somebody missed the rebar day and they get the concrete poured on because you just have to pour it, they're not here, rebar, section 6 rebar isn't here, well, you just have to pour it. We have to keep going. We have to keep going. And so if you think about education, like building a house, foundation. If the child, and it's each individual house, my house being built is not predicated on your house. You don't have to attend school for me to build my house. I have to attend school so I can build my house. So if we look at education like that, every day that a child misses, it's hard on the child. It's harder on the child than it is on the teacher. Now, it's challenging for the teacher as well. Now, it's different if the classroom is, say, 20 students, or as it is at Fair Christian Academy, if it's about 10, maybe 12 students. It's harder for that teacher as well, because what if they are teaching a standard or an objective or a skill that child is having problems comprehending, but that child was absent for 2 days out of the week. So the rest of the class, they've moved on, and the teacher has worked through those challenges with those students that were in class. But the teacher's like, well, I can't leave this one behind. But she's looking at the 19 that is ready to go, and she's only the one teacher. How can she bring that one child up to speed with the rest of the class? Especially if the child is having a hard time grasping the concepts of what was taught on the days that they missed. So that's the same thing with private school and with public school and private school. Engagement. We have classroom grades. We have assignments, quizzes, tests, unit tests. We have projects. And all those are a percentage of the overall grades. We have teacher assessments, where some children we have to read the questions to them, and that's a part of being able to meet every child where they are. And
do you want to know if your child or student is suffering from test anxiety? If so, here are a few common behavioral signs of test anxiety. Complaining of stomach aches, headaches, or feeling sick before a test. Crying, clinging, or refusing to go to school on test days. Difficulty sleeping the night before a test. Avoiding homework or getting upset when talking about tests. Freezing up or becoming overly quiet during tests. Fidgeting, nail biting, or other nervous habits while taking tests. Negative self-talk. Sudden outbursts of frustration, anger, or sadness related to schoolwork. Forgetting material they usually know when under pressure. rushing through the test or refusing to complete it, avoiding school or class on test or quiz days, and more. For ways that you can help your child or student overcome test anxiety, please pay attention to the ad at the end of the video.
We also have the diagnostics that we perform because, even though private schools aren't required, we want to know that our students can perform at or above level. Okay, and lastly, we have college readiness. Parents worry about their child going to private schools like, oh, I want my baby. She wants to be a nurse, a doctor. He wants to be an attorney. He wants to be a legislator. He wants to be a politician. He wants to be a veterinarian. She wants to be, a pilot, an astronaut. And I'm concerned about, there just aren't as many resources in private schools as they are in public schools. And that is true. Private schools do not have access to a lot of resources, but that forces private schools to do something, that's a little more than public schools. And that is we have to be creative. We have to be creative. So if we have students that are interested in anything medical or scientific or engineering, we have to be creative in we see that passion. We have to be creative in igniting it and keeping that fire lit up under them. And another thing with college readiness with private schools is, they talk about the ACT scores or the SAT or ACT scores. Well, the thing about private schools, we don't have to have a Saturday ACT prep. No, we can build ACT and SAT prep into the curriculum. So you don't wait until you're ninth grade to be exposed to test-taking skills. You don't have to wait until 10th grade to begin ACT prep or SAT prep. That can be introduced into the curriculum as early as 6th grade. So by the 7th grade, a child can sit for at least the ACT test. Now, as I stated at the beginning, question to the parents. I was going to ask a very important question. And that question is, what do you think is the best tool to measure academic performance? Is it the standardized assessments, classroom performance? Is it the teacher assessments? Is it the student growth metrics that measures student growth over time? Is it the benchmarks? Is it the diagnostic test? Is it the state test? Which tool do you think better assesses academic performance? Do you think it's a combination that would work better? Or what are your suggestions as to how we can better monitor academic performance? I cannot wait to hear your response. I cannot wait. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your comments. I thank you for your likes, your shares, and your subscriptions. And I will see you again, same day, same time. And remember, it still takes a village. Thanks for watching.
Do you want to know some ways to overcome test anxiety? Here are some tips. Before the test, encourage healthy study habits, teach relaxation techniques, promote positive self-talk, ensure proper rest and nutrition, and practice test-taking skills. Here are some things to do during the test. Teach your student or your child to use stress relief techniques, encourage a calm mindset, and normalize taking breaks. Here are some things to do after the test. Avoid overanalyzing mistakes, celebrate effort, not just the result, address any ongoing anxiety.